Are the San Francisco 49ers telling us what they're about to do in round one of the NFL draft? How close are Trent Williams and the 49ers to a deal? And much more with Rob Stats Guerrero right after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Rob Stats Guerrero. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. The only person that could get me out of bed at 2 p.m. During the day. I know that we normally don't do, our podcast at this time, but Rob is the only person that can get me out of bed. Usually I talk about the 49ers podcast, but Rob, how are you, buddy?
I am good, Jay. Thank you for accommodating me. I appreciate the early start time.
No problem. I mean, look, I'm in a really good mood these days, right? The 49ers have had a great offseason. Avery turned 9 yesterday. I can't believe what the hell is going on. We had a great day yesterday. And you know what? Slowly but surely, I'm walking and moving around. Things are looking up, man. Like by the time summer's here, Jay's gonna be back in full swing. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, Rob. That's up to you to decide.
It is a good thing. It sounds like we need to get your doctors into the facility in Santa Clara there, because if they got you back on your feet, they can work wonders with Mike Evans' hamstring.
Hey, listen. All I know is the substation did not get Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, none of those guys anyway. Let's talk about it. The San Francisco 49ers right now, they're at pick 27. The mock drafts are flying, depending on who you ask. And to be fair, when people get upset with mock drafts, I would say to kind of dial that back a little bit, just because the people that are conducting these mock drafts for PFF, NFL.com, they don't follow the 49ers super closely. They just know what the needs are. So they'll say, hey, here's a receiver who looks like Deebo Samuel. He'll fit perfectly with Kyle Shanahan. Oh, they had very low sack production. Oh, they need an edge rusher. Hey, they had a tough time with Seattle's defensive line. They need offensive line, right? Like, these people are looking at the needs of the team and they're just piecing it together. And again, it's nothing more than just a fun exercise. But top 30 visits are in, and depending on where you land on how important those things are, Rob, because we've seen the 49ers literally not speak to a player the entire offseason and then draft them. And then we've had guys that have come in the building, top 30 visit, and have been San Francisco 49ers. Are the 49ers telling us that they want a wide receiver at pick 27?
Well, they had Denzel Boston in, and Casey Concepcion and Omar Cooper Jr. The top 30 visits for the wideouts, those are a lot of names that people like. They need a wide receiver, because as nice as it is to have Mike Evans and Christian Kirk in the fold, those are short-term deals. Mike Evans is going to be 33 this year. They need wide receivers. So they have to restock the cupboard a little bit. Whether they do it in round one or not, I'm not sure. But I think they're definitely taking a wide receiver with one of their 6 picks.
I know that you have the tweet up on the screen to, talk about the third. Can I talk about something about this tweet that really bugs me?
Of course.
For the audio listeners, there's a David Lombardi tweet up here. Again, I have no problem with David Lombardi. He's been nothing but nice to me. Anytime that we've spoken, everything has been very copacetic. He tells me all the time that he enjoys my work, all that stuff. The tweet reads, add Denzel Boston to Casey Concepcion and Omar Cooper Jr. The top 30 receiver visits are piling up. Laughing at how many were so sure the 49ers would no longer be interested in drafting a wide receiver early after they signed Christian Kirk to a 1-year deal. Who are you talking to? Nobody ever once said that the 49ers weren't going to, like, this whole, like, making things up about, like, it's like this, Rob. And this is real quick. I'm just going to go on a quick tangent and we'll get right back. It's like somebody will tweet, I was told Steph Curry wasn't a good shooter. Who the fuck ever once said that? Ever? No one. So whatever. I guess that's just my point with that. Sorry for the cursing or whatever. But Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr. Oh, baby. I only think 2 of those guys might be available at 27. But yeah, I never thought once that the 49ers were going to be out on a wide receiver. And in fact, you're going to have to be in on these guys. If you want, one of these guys, you're going to have to be in on them in the first round at 27.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to take them in the second round. Now, one thing I did say with the signing of Evans and Kirk is that you didn't have to go wide receiver in round 1, which I still agree with, but they definitely need a wide receiver because those guys could be gone next year. Ricky Pearsall will, who knows what his future is going to be. This is very much a make or break year for him. And then you're left with Jacob Cowing and Jordan Walker. Like, they have to have another wide receiver. Now, I don't think they have to do it on the first night of the draft, but they're going to take one. Plus, Shanahan loves to take one anyway. I think there has only been one draft ever of his where they haven't taken at least one wide receiver.
Shout out Dante Pettis. Now, here's the thing. Rob. I enjoy this signaling because it signals to me that the San Francisco 49ers know exactly what they need to fix and what they need to improve immediately and what was their downfall. And to your point a little bit, we're all hopeful for Ricky Pearsall. Shit, some people are still hopeful for Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowan. I'm one of the Jacob Cowan guys. I'm not the Jordan Watkins one. But we don't know what's going to happen with them down the line. We didn't know what was going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. So this is what good organizations do, right? Yes, we have this guy we're hopeful for, but we're not resting on our laurels that they're going to be the people that are going to carry us. We still have to keep restocking the cupboard, and we have to keep bringing in good football players. This is why best player available strategy is always going to be the right way to draft. Always. Teams that consistently draft for need are consistently bad teams. And that is how you find yourself drafting any offensive tackle that's available because you have a needed offensive tackle. Drafting any wide receiver. Like, that's how you end up with, like, a guy like, oh my God, I can't even think of the guy's name. He was drafted by the Jets or whatever, and he was like this big jump ball guy. He just was terrible, whatever. Like, you just end up doing that over and over again. And Angelo Cruz says, Watkins greater than Cowing. No. I'm going to disagree wholeheartedly with that. Cowing's problem is that he can't get on the field because of injury. Watkins' problem is he can't get on the field because he's not good. Two different things completely, in my opinion. But that's the thing, is like, when you look at draft strategy, you'll look at it and you'll say, what is this team doing drafting that guy, right? Like, and the 49ers have put themselves in a position where they've done both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Trey Lance, well, we'll double dip on Brock Purdy on the way back, and it saved them. You can save themselves. You can save yourself by doing things like this, Rob.
First of all, Stephen Hill was the Jets wide receiver that they drafted, which I had to look it up because I knew who you were talking about, the kid from Georgia Tech. I was like, okay. But you're right. Need is a terrible evaluator because what you end up doing is you end up saying, well, I know he's got this flaw, but we really need him. I know we usually don't draft guys with this length of arms, but we really need him. And you end up making exceptions to the things that you normally wouldn't make an exception for. And when you do that, you increase your chances of winding up with a bad pick. I hate drafting for need. It is a weird thing, but the draft and like building a team are, I don't want to say they're separate, but like the draft is its own animal. When you draft players, certain positions, certain times, it's its own weird thing. And you got to know how to handle that. And a lot of teams don't.
And that's the thing, is the board moves weird, right? Mm-hmm. Players that you never would have suspected, right? Like this, and I'm going to use this as an example. I don't think this is somebody that's going to be in the 49ers range, but Caleb Downs is the number one safety prospect maybe ever, right? Like, but, medical history might fall, like this draft, we could see 3 safeties go in the first round, 3 of them. And that is completely unorthodox, but it speaks to how deep the safety class is. Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, he's a stud. Emmanuel McNeil Wilson, he's a stud. Like those are great players. And I still think Caleb Downs is a stud. It just depends on, are you going to pass on the medical stuff? But that's the point, right? Is, we need an offensive tackle. Well, there's an offensive tackle available. Let's take him. Or if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Think about this. And trust me, I am not a Jalen Hurts fan. You have Carson Wentz in tow, but you draft Jalen Hurts. And people are like, what the hell are you doing? Carson Wentz was an MVP, Now look, so again, I think when you look at the better teams and how they've drafted and how they've gone, you've seen them double up at positions that they've been pretty secure at because they were doing the right thing in that moment with the best player that was available.
And we've seen it in other times. I mean, the Commanders, well, back then they were just the other team, but RG3, Kirk Cousins, we saw that. Like, it is not a crazy thing at all. Even Ricky Pearsall at the time was seen as a luxury pick. And now, thank God they drafted Ricky Pearsall, or the wide receiver room would be even more bare. I will say this, though, Jay. Let's say they do take a wide receiver. Let's say Boston falls to them, right? And they're like, well,
what?
I'm just
you better run that up. So you better run it up.
Let's say they take him. And assuming the other guys are still there, he's not going to play. Whoever they would take as a wide receiver is probably not going to play that much in round one if those other guys are healthy. Are you cool with that, given the state of the team and the other needs that they have?
Unless, Rob, and let me throw this back at you. I hate answering questions with questions, and I think that I think a lot of people have a really, really hard time with that. I think that it's one of the things that's like part of decaying society. Unless, is Kyle Shanahan realizing that, hey, you know what? We need to get into like more 3 wide receiver sets. We need to start spreading the offense out, putting a little, 4 more people on the field, putting more people on the field. Maybe you take the fullback off the field a little bit. Like, would that be a sign of that? Yeah, I know. Oh my God. Would that be a sign of a progression based on how last season went and what he's seeing with the defenses that are attacking them?
It could be. That's a fair question to ask. I would hope that he would just put his best 11 guys out there. Like, I don't care what you've done. I don't care. Just put your best 11 guys out there. And if the fullback is not part of them, get him off the field. Like, what are we doing here? I don't want to make the offense less dangerous because we need to get the fullback touches. No, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. And Luke Didon, I appreciate you saying that you disagree. You think Watkins is better. That's cool. We can agree to disagree. But Boston could be the next Evans, and who better to learn from than your prototype? 100%, 100%. Like, you have to think of it that way as well too. But yeah, Rob, the whole put your best guys out there. He's not talking about Jake Tonjes and George Kittle. By the way, we're gonna. I don't.
Well, you could do that early in the year, though, right? Before Kittle gets back, maybe you do use more 4 wide receiver sets.
Or you have to use Tonjes. Like, that's fine. Like, Tonjes, you're here, you're back. That's cool. Kittle's not going to be back. That's cool. But this idea of, like, put Tonjes and Kittle on the field, it's not Gronk and Aaron Hernandez. Just stop. Let's just stop with that, man. Please, enough. Like, I don't want to hear that anymore about the 2 tight ends thing, because now you're hamstringing the offense because you think something's cool, right? Like, we wanted that in 2020 when Jordan Reed was here, right? Like, that would have been electric, right? Jordan Reed and George Kittle. Cool. Never happened because neither of them were healthy at the right time or at the same time. But this idea, like, about the 2 tight ends thing. Now, if that kid Sadiq is on the board at 27, which that'll absolutely never happen. Like, there's no shot that that's happening. But oh my God, man. Sadiq and Kittle together on the field. You have to get them both on the field at the same time.
McShay just mocked Sadiq to the 49ers this week, actually.
Todd. No. I don't know about that one.
Well, I mean, you talk about Evans being a mentor for Boston. How about our tight end and George Kittle, who, no, he didn't run a 4.39, but he ran like a 4.41 or 4.45, something like that. Mentoring Sadiq would be a pretty nice little thing to have, too.
Yeah, I mean, but the 49ers have to trade up way far to go get him. The book is out. Chris, Mr. 49, Jay says, why not run Tonjes and Kittles? It worked great for the Rams. You're not going to like this answer. The way they utilize their 3 tight ends is completely different. They're not spreading them all out, wide, right? What the Rams do, and this is Sean McVay's superpower, is he shows you a look that you're running the football out of. And then the one thing that you're not going to like about this, it works because of the quarterback. Because Matthew Stafford is that good. And he can get them the football, right? All 3 of those guys whenever they have a chance. The problem is that when you have all three of those guys, you're dictating the personnel to the defense. You are dictating to them. You cannot be in nickel. Bring your base personnel on. That's why you saw Luke Gifford. Because Luke Gifford is got to be on the field because you have all these tight ends and it's heavy. And now we can pick on Luke Gifford. The difference is that the way that they set it up is beautiful in 13 personnel. The quarterback's better. That's the quick and short answer. But yeah, I'm sorry. Matthew Stafford's just really good at football, and that helps a lot.
So you don't think they could do that with Brock?
They don't have the personnel to do it. Luke Farrell is garbage.
Tight ends.
Yeah, Luke Farrell's garbage. Tonjes, you line them up in line. Okay. People aren't going to be afraid of that. But like, what the Rams do is they've shown you that personnel grouping, and they've run the football out of it. So when you get heavy and you're in your base, now they can play with your mind a little bit. The 49ers haven't set all that up. The Rams have set that up. The Rams have set that up year after year after year doing that. They play the long game with that one, and yeah, it doesn't work because Kyle and Brock are mid. I wouldn't say that. Joseph Ehrenberg, thank you for the comment. The Rams are just they were ahead of the curve with that one. They were ahead of the curve with that one, and it really isn't as complicated as people make it seem.
They were the only team that they kicked the hell out of the Seahawks defense. Like,
yes, they scored 30 points 2 times in a row against them.
Yeah, like they were the only team. Whatever they were doing, Seattle really didn't have an answer for it. Just so happens that in those games, the Seattle offense also was cooking, and that got them the victory. But no, the Rams, this just in. They know what they're doing. They have a really good offensive coach with a really good quarterback, the best quarterback in the NFC, and that's how they're so damn good all the time, and it's really annoying.
Think about this. Mike McDonald, the genius that he is, the clamper of the world, he was getting spammed by the dagger concept with Puka Nacua all those 2 games. Spammed. I'm talking about, like, I'm playing Madden now because, like, whatever they gave it to us for free. By the way, I realize that now I'm the old dude in the club because I have no idea what the hell's going on pre-snap. Like, you have to do so many things. Like, that's completely different. But they're hitting Ask Madden, and they're spamming favorite play, and Seattle still has no concept of what to do with it. So it is possible, but it also has to be on the back of quarterback, Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams is an absolute red zone weapon. And, when Stafford's that good and he's able to get the football to all those guys, the possibilities are endless. Having said that, we don't have to keep talking about the Los Angeles Rams, but that's how they're able to do it. If you want to run Tonjes and Kittle, okay, maybe like 1 or 2 plays, fine. But this idea that it's like this necessary grouping that needs to happen, a la, Gronk and 81. I want to stop saying his name because I think we need to stop, saying that guy's name. It's not Gronk and 81, where it's like, oh, they're going to be on the field a bunch. I think that's where people are getting it like a little misconstrued, is like this idea of like Tonjes and Kittle being on the field like those 2 guys doesn't need to be that at all. Like, it's not a death grouping. Like, defenses aren't shaking in their boots because you see Tonjes and Kittle on the field at the same time.
Right. It's not something that they could live in. Could they do it once in a while? Sure. You could do anything once in a while. Maybe in the red zone it works better, whatever. But yeah, I agree. And that's not meant as a dig on Tonjes. I think he's
at all.
He's a perfectly cromulent backup tight end.
I love it. It's I never heard of that word. Rob and I get it. If you get it, if you know, we're not going to explain it. Please put in the comments if you know what cromulent means. Okay. Rob, March 24th, 2:20 Eastern. Trent Williams watch. Is there a button? No?
No, maybe I need to make one.
Yeah, Panda watch. The mood is tense. Trent Williams and the 49ers are not close. According to a report. Are you worried?
No, because nobody, like, the Niners can afford his contract. They're under the cap.
Yep.
They're good. So if he wants to do something great, but like, they don't have to get something done. They could just play the season out as is. Trent, he could hold out if he wants to or retire, but if he wants to play football this year, he's going to have to play. So It's going to be a long, drawn-out thing. Trent will probably use this as a reason to skip a lot of the training camp crap he doesn't want to do anymore, but eventually he'll be on the field week 1 ready to go.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the only reason that we have to bring it up is because we're a 49ers podcast, and that's a report that just came out. But yeah, I don't want to talk about it anymore, Rob. Like, really. I mean, I know that we're going to, and we have to. It's similar to the Brandon Ayuk thing. I don't want to talk about Brandon Ayuk right now. As far as I'm concerned, Brandon Ayuk's not a San Francisco 49er, even if he still is. But you still have to speak about it, right? It's the same thing with this. In my opinion, this is sooner than later, whatever. If you want to take it to training camp, fine. Not worried. Not worried at all. Just, get it done. But San Francisco 49ers I think they've made at least one move this offseason that was particularly intriguing, and I think it has to do a little with kind of just putting a safety net under them with Trent Williams, and that's the signing of Vidarian Lowe at left tackle. I think that's a safety net. Just in case. You don't know what's going to happen. Look, did the 49ers ever think that Brandon Ayuk was going to go completely ghost? No. Do you think that Trent Williams is going to do that? No. But if he does, we have a left tackle who has actually played football games in the NFL that we feel confident in. So I do think that kind of signals, hey, listen, we think this is going to get done. We'll figure it out. But just in case, we have your guy here. Did you get the same sense of that with that signing?
Yeah, I think it was basically like we think this guy's tall enough to ride the bumper cars. Like the 49ers have shown when they think a left tackle is really good, they will move heaven and earth to try and get it. But when they don't get that guy, they're just looking for like a bare minimum level of performance. Are you tall enough to ride the bumper cars? Okay, we think we can get by with you. The Shanahan system is kind of known for getting by with offensive linemen that are not necessarily the most physically talented because of the angles and the way he sets up their blocks. A lot of the times you can do that. Joe Thomas talked about that when Kyle was the OC there in Cleveland. And so that's how the 49ers look at it. So if they have to go it without Trent Williams, they think they'll be good enough.
Strawberry React says, we feel confident in Lowe starting. Really? Did you ever believe that Jake Brendel would be in year 5 center?
I mean, I don't love the idea. I'm not going to lie.
And it's not our idea.
Right.
It's not my idea. I'm telling you what they're thinking, and they've shown you that they don't really care if you agree with it. They're going to roll with Jake Brendel again.
Yeah, he's in the last year of his deal. He's what, $6 million, I think he costs, or $4 million, whatever it is. It's ridiculously cheap considering Tyler Linderbaum just got $27 million a year.
Raiders are idiots.
So, yeah, I mean, again, that's what they look for. You can bang on them all you want, but this is who they have shown themselves to be.
We prioritize guys who can score touchdowns. Those are the words of your offensive line coach. Mm-hmm. They're not the words of Jason Aponte. They are not the words of Rob Stats Guerrero. Don't get mad at us. Get mad at the philosophy. We are just the messengers, okay? And they're the messengers. So when you think, oh, well, Lowe's only played 3 games, how Jake Brendel hadn't played any games, and he's a starting center, and they think he's a top center in the NFL. That's another discussion for another day, right, Rob?
They keep telling us how much they love him because he does the protection stuff that is obviously important for the center to do, and they think he's good enough at the other stuff. He's a good enough run blocker. Yeah, he gets whooped sometimes in the pass game. They don't really seem to care about it. They just don't, man. And then especially with Brock Purdy's mobility, the way he gets out of sacks and extends the play and buys time, if you're going to have that kind of philosophy on the offensive line, it sure helps to have a quarterback like Brock, and right, it's a good match right now.
I could only hope to have the job security with Rob Stats Guerrero that Jake Brendel has with Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. Like, hey, Rob, I can't make it to this show or this other show. No problem, Jason. We think you're one of the top podcasters in the league right now. Don't worry about it.
When we do our evaluations, you're come out one of the top podcasters in the 49ers community.
Yeah, it's Pro Football Focus should start switching away from player grades and start doing podcast grades. Because I'd love to see what they've got, like, me and everyone else rated and what they think of, like, the intangibles and stuff like that. Because the grades are going to be so different from our employers. And it's the same thing in the NFL, right? The PFF grades have this guy at the top of the league. The employer cuts him the next year, or vice versa. So, yeah, I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, sometimes you have the most downloaded football podcast at a certain company, and then they lay you off the next week. Sometimes that happens.
And then you know what? Out of the ashes rises a phoenix, and Rob says, I'll do it myself. How about that? One more, that's it. I'm always so proud of you for that, man. I was literally thinking about that. I don't know why. I was thinking about that, like, entire situation. I think I was just looking at the Gold Standard, hoodie, and I was just like, Rob really, really, really took this shit all the way to the top and got away from, like Niners Nation. They fired us right before what did we have? We had the number 5 sports podcast in America, and not just football, any sport, right? And they were about to play the Dallas Cowboys in the divisional round, and they sent us walking papers. What on earth are you doing?
I was literally about to record an NFL show for them, and I got an email in my inbox, and that was it. But you know what? We're here partly because you and everybody else on the team was willing to work for free for a long time. So as much as you want to give me credit, I give credit right back to you and Steph and Michelle, Levin, everybody. So thank you.
Less than that. Really. Less than that. What did I tell you when we were on the phone? I was like, you know what, Rob? This is your perfect opportunity to do this shit yourself. And ownership and doing things yourself and never having to look over your back, over your shoulder for who's going to keep you around. That is the American dream in every sense of the word. I'm doing this myself. This is mine. I built this from the ground up. No one can take this from me. And I always believed that you could. Anyway, enough with the sentimental stuff, Rob.
Thank you.
I could go on, over and over about that. 49ers podcast, but the New York Yankees have 3 games against the San Francisco Giants and then the Seattle Mariners right after that. Who the hell made this schedule up?
Oh, really? Are we going to have to go to another game this year?
Oh, you want to go to Yankee Stadium? Do you want to go to see Jay-Z?
No.
He said no. I mean, you can't anyway because the tickets are sold out like completely or whatever at Yankee Stadium. No. Okay.
Oh, I was just going to take us back to 49ers news because Brian Robinson went to the Atlanta Falcons after the 49ers traded a draft pick to acquire him last year, and he played 18% of the snaps on offense. They must really like Jordan James.
Do they? Or does that mean that they're going to draft another running back?
Again?
Yeah, well, they don't have a 3rd round pick this time, so, that means no kicker, no running back, right? I don't know, man. It's the same thing with the Jordan Watkins thing. I can really say that, like, I really believe that they just don't believe that he is physically ready to go, be a difference maker, anything like that. Like, again, Malik Turner played meaningful snaps over him, and he was off the street. That goes to show you the confidence that they have in Jordan Watkins. So you can wish on a star all you want. Jordan Watkins is fast, and he's 6'5". Great. Ride this bench. With Jordan James, I'm a little on the fence, and here's why. Christian McCaffrey's never coming off the field. Like, the 49ers have zero inclination to get him off the field. Ever. Even if they're like, hey, 450 touches, hey, where it feels like a ticking time bomb, they don't care. And I think it was yesterday that you made the point. I think I saw the clip on Instagram. I really liked this take that you had. And I never thought of it this way. What if Mike Evans is the way that you get Christian McCaffrey some breathing time? And I want you to expand on that for the people, because again, we're, this is yours and I's show, so we want to make sure that we elaborate on that a little bit more, Rob.
Well, Evans finally is another guy on offense that has gravity that can affect the defense based on where he is, and the defense has to plan for him. Before that, last year, it was basically just McCaffrey. They didn't care about Juwan Jennings. They didn't care about Ricky Pearsall. And so Kyle was like, if I take CMC off the field, then I got nothing that I can influence the defense with. Now he can still do that with Evans, and Christian McCaffrey doesn't have to be out there. So that might make Kyle more willing to say, hey, Christian, take a breather. We'll go to Jordan James or Isaac Arendo, I guess, or whoever the hell else they may have.
Not him.
Because Evans can still bring that gravity.
Yeah, and I liked Isaac Arendo. Like, I knew right off the rip at the combine, watching him run, I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, pack your bags, buddy. And, yeah, but it's the confidence thing more than anything. Like, if Kyle doesn't have confidence in you at all, you're not going to play. Like, it just doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. And that confidence can wane at any moment. You can go from being Brandon Ayuk in year one to an absolute, stud to, like, remember what they were telling us in the second year? I couldn't believe it. Trent Sherfield's been outplaying Brandon Ayuk. Do you think I'm fucking dumb? Like, do you think I'm dumb? You think the guy wearing 81, the guy that in training camp people were saying, oh, he's wearing 81 or 84 because he's AB. You think that guy is outplaying Brandon Ayuk, and you want to, like, lie to yourself all you want. Don't lie to me. So, like, they do that all the time.
The weirdest thing for the 49ers is, like, the most important 2 months of the season in a weird way are like July and August. If you are not there in July and August, especially as a young player, you miss your chance to ever get on the field. It seems like it's almost impossible to get on the field if you're not there in training camp and preseason, July and August. Just look at Jordan Watkins. They had so many injuries at wide receiver. They're signing Kendrick Bourne. Malik Turner is getting reps, and they still wouldn't put Jordan Watkins on the field.
He was hurt early in the season, so we have to make sure we throw that in there. But do you remember week one, Rob? You remember we were doing the preview show for week one against Seattle, and we're saying your starting wide receivers is going to be Marquez Valdes-Scantling at X. It is going to be Ricky Pearsall at F and Z, and Russell Gage is going to get a bunch of reps. If you can't make your way through that, depth chart, this is your biggest sign that Jordan Watkins may be ungood at football.
And also why as we bring it full circle, they are bringing in Omar Cooper and Denzel Boston and KC Concepcion for top 30 visits.
And if Trent Taylor sees one rep over you, Jordan Watkins,
oh my God,
go to Home Depot and fill out an application, because football's not for you. It's just not for you. Why is Trent Taylor on this roster, Rob? Can I just ask that one more? Like, I understand you're a friend of the friend of the friend, right? And I understand that that's how the world works. And, if I can get you a job at my spot, I will. And absolutely. If I can get my son a job, I will. That's how the world works. I don't care if you're going to cry about it. I have to take care of my friends and family. But seriously, Trent Taylor has to be the friend of a friend that continues to have a job. Like, why is he here? What do you do?
He must be really fun to hang out with, because that's the only thing I could imagine. I mean, what the hell is he doing on this team?
He must know where the bodies are buried. I was looking back at, remember the Bengals when they made the Super Bowl that year? Obviously the 49ers lost to the Rams. Trent Taylor caught a touchdown pass in that AFC Championship game from Joe Burrow. Wow. I completely pushed that out of my mind. And the reason that I guess it wasn't in my mind was I was at the NFC title game in LA. And I remember we were outside tailgating, watching the game. And then we went inside SoFi before the game started and watched the end of it. And all the 49ers fans, once it was over, we're all high-fiving each other. We're like, oh my God, this is the year because the Chiefs aren't in it. We're going to beat the hell out of the Bengals. Yeah, whatever. We don't have to keep going down that road. But yeah, I completely forgot about that. Back to the draft though, real quick. And the reason that I'm so interested in this draft is because my forte is wide receivers, secondary members. Those are the things that I love to watch, right? I really, really have a deep admiration for the people who scout every single player, regardless of whether the team that you root for has a chance to draft them and has a really good scouting report on all of them. I commend you. I have a deep admiration for you because I can't do it. What do I look like? Because what do I look like watching Caleb Downs? I don't care. 49ers aren't going to get him. What do I look like, looking at, Jeremiah Love? I don't care. 49ers aren't going to have a chance to get him. But you have this deep knowledge of them. But wide receivers, that's different. And I'll watch them all. And I'm very, very, very interested in this Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper, right? Because I'm super biased. Hoosiers all day. Best program in the world. Y'all got to catch up. Omar Cooper Jr. or Elijah Surratt. You should be a 49er. One of you two guys should be a 49er. But Casey Concepcion is really an interesting case study of people in the mock draft world, the draft world, how big drafty, draft watchers and all that stuff are. Of Casey Concepcion looks like Debo, so he's got to be a 49. But Rob, I got to tell you, I've done a little bit more digging on him. He's not a gadget guy. I think he's actually a better route runner than people are giving him credit for, including myself. In the beginning, I was just like, oh, he's just going to be one of those guys that they just like throw the ball to and they're like, oh, go ahead, go make something happen. It's starting to feel a little bit more and more like if I had to put my money on any of these guys being a 49er, it would probably be him. And I don't think I'm that mad.
Even if he doesn't play that much in year one?
I think he will. I think it's just not going to be right away, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if you guys remember, right? Kyle goes to the Senior Bowl in 2018. He coaches. He gets a good look at Deebo Samuel. He had a good look at Terry McLaurin, and he chose Jalen Hurd over him. But when that season started, who were the starting wide receivers for the San Francisco 49ers in week 1? And I can tell you, you know why? Because I was at that game in Tampa Bay. Marquise Goodwin, Richie James.
God. Oh,
Richie James caught a touchdown from James Garoppolo. Now, the Tampa Bay Bucks caught a touchdown from James Garoppolo as well, too. And the San Francisco 49ers caught a few touchdowns from Jameis Winston. But Deebo didn't play right away. Deebo had to get integrated. Like, it was around like week 4 or 5 when things started to kind of pick up. And then they made the trade for Emmanuel Sanders, and it's to both of them. So I wouldn't be so upset with that. Plus, also, having another good wide receiver when you're worried about Mike Evans' injuries and Christian Kirk's injuries and Ricky Pearsall's injuries, probably not the worst thing in the world. And Chris, Mr. 49er, says, Surratt is super slow. I really want you guys to stop looking at 40-yard dash times. Because if speed and straight line speed was everything, Xavier Worthy would be good at football. John Ross would have had more than 3 catches in his entire life. All that speed shit doesn't matter if you can't get in and out of breaks, can't make catches. Stop playing with Elijah Surratt. He's more Keenan Allen than you believe. And Keenan Allen's not fast. I don't care about 40-yard dash time. That's nice. That's cute. It's real cute. Xavier Worthy stinks. And if you don't think that he stinks, then why did the Chiefs exhaust and keep getting wide receivers and just keep adding to them? Route running is not equal to speed. I want you guys to stop, okay? There is way more nuance to getting yourself open. Mike Evans isn't fast. Mike Evans has never been fast. He hasn't been fast a day in his life. Maybe he was in high school. Maybe he was in PAL. Mike Evans hasn't been fast a day in his life. Do you think that matters? He's going to the Hall of Fame. Jerry Rice was never fast. Not one day in his life. You think that matters? The fastest guys aren't the best. Now, it helps, but it's not.
Yeah, I think that people, if you haven't realized by now, like Juwan Jennings is not fast. Juwan Jennings carved out a career for himself because he made contested catches, he broke tackles, and he blocked his ass off. Like 40 time is the least. Do you even know why they do 40-yard dash? Like, how did that become the actual like distance that everybody runs? Do you know the history of it?
I don't.
It's basically a punt drill because it was like, well, this is about how long people run when when they punt the ball and you have to run down the field is basically 40 yards. So that's how we're going to standardize it. So it's not
And
even, it's just a made up thing.
and Chris, Mr. 49er, I'm glad that I was able to get you to your conclusion because I'm glad that you got to the point. Ross and Worthy have no route tree. There you go. You just like the light bulb just went off in your head. Who cares about speed? And the thing about football is, how often is it that guys can run straight down the field and never have to make any routes? And he says we need a 4-3-4-4 guy who can run routes but can also blow by guys. Where he at? Where he at? Are they growing on trees? They tried that. Danny Gray, you work at Target. Like where he at? We need a 4-3-4-4 guy who can run routes and also blow by guys. Where he at? Find him. Because they don't grow on trees. And those guys that you have that are like that, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson didn't run 4-3-4-4. Like, where are they?
Yeah, that's like a creative player, basically.
Yeah, right. Like, all right, Rob, real quick. I'm single, right? You know what I want? I want a girl who, has blonde hair like Sydney Sweeney, looks like her. Where's she at? Like everybody wants something like that, but where they at? Where they at?
Yeah, we'd all love that.
Yeah, we'd all love that, right? Oh, damn, Justin Jefferson, 4-4-3. Yeah, well, there you go. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. Like, we're talking about top two guys in the NFL. Nico Collins ain't fast. Tyreek Hill, 4.29, still a free agent. Might be, in jail, if we give it a little bit more time soon. So, that too.
Also, 8.29 when he came into the NFL. He's coming off a major dislocated knee / ACL. No, hard pass on Tyreek Hill.
Oh, yeah, and the character issues are just,
yes,
like that's it. Like they're putting them off or whatever. But yeah, the receiver group here, Jeremy Bernard runs a 4.4. Jeremy's good. I think he's a good player. He's going to be available though in the second round, in my opinion. But I would like, and this is the ideal draft strategy. Rob, I posted a mock draft that was unrealistic, but I played the board. I don't know what you want me to do about the fact that the player fell to me at 27. Am I supposed to say, hey, this is unrealistic, I'm going to turn this down? I'm not going to. So I posted a mock draft, but I went safety and edge back to back. And I felt good about that. And then I went and I got wide receiver later, and I felt better about that. But that's not realistic.
Defense heavy in the draft 2 years in a row, where all their age is on offense. Their defense is young. Their defense is young as hell. All the age is on offense. If they came out right out of the gate and spent the first 2 picks on defense again, I would be a little nervous.
The thing is it's the thing that we talked about last year, right? Robert Saleh is like, this is my draft. And then Robert Saleh leaves. And it's like, yeah, you drafted all those guys and you feel good about them as players. But man, you let somebody archetype your whole draft and then they left, and now you got to like kind of do it all over again.
And you knew he was probably going to leave too. That was the weirdest part about all that. It was like you had to assume he was only going to be there for 1 year. He literally told you, I'll take any head coaching job over being your defensive coordinator. And then you let him pick all the guys.
And then, I think that was just more about because of the last 2 years with defensive coordinator searches for the 49ers, right? You went too far into the season. You tried to like swing on Spags and Belichick, and then you just land on, whatever, Wilkes, right? Like, was it the same year or whatever? Or it was am I misremembering it or whatever? Like before they had Wilkes?
Before Wilkes? No, it was.
No. I know it was D'Amico. What I'm saying is when it was the Super Bowl year, and then they ended up with Sorensen. My bad. I'm sorry. I apologize.
They fired Wilkes, tried to get Belichick, tried to get
Spags,
and then got a potato.
And then ended up with Sorensen. Right, exactly. That they were so scared of that they were like, Saleh, you can ask for whatever you want. And he was like, I got these guys. Hey, listen, I'm not mad at Rob either, Bobby, right? Because his his head coaching candidacy is directly tied to how well that defense performs.
Mm-hmm.
So if he lets you draft a bunch of lemons and that defense doesn't perform, no matter whatever it is that you're trying to implement, you're not getting a head coaching job. So I'm not mad at Robert Saleh. It's weird to me that the 49ers were so desperate. They were so worried. And they were like, we'll give you anything, that he completely reshaped their draft, which wasn't a bad thing because he drafted a bunch of run stuffers and edge setters, which the 49ers desperately needed, regardless of whoever the defensive coordinator was. So that's very fair. But you passed on other players that you possibly could have had and still fortified that run defense because of what you gave Robert Saleh, and then Robert Saleh leaves.
Going to need a little more from some of those defensive guys too. And I like Michael and I like Alfred Collins, but
And CJ West.
yeah, would like to see a little more pass rushing chops out of them if possible.
Well, if you don't believe that the 49ers need to see more, why did they trade for Osa?
Yeah. I was just reading an article about the Max Crosby trade, and apparently the Cowboys tried to they have 2 first-round picks. They tried to send their second first-round pick and Osa to the Raiders for Crosby. And the only reason it didn't go through is because the Raiders turned it down. And then once the Ravens swooped in and made the deal, then the Cowboys pivoted and traded Osa to us. So it could have very easily been not a thing for the 49ers, and then they would have been in a much worse place on their offensive line or defensive line, because I love the defensive line with Bosa and Osa and Alfred Collins and Michael on the inside too there. I actually think the defensive line is in a much better place than it was last year.
Has to be. Can't be worse, especially going into it. Malachi Lawrence or Joshua Josephs, one of you guys have to come on down. The 49ers still have to draft an edge. Yes. And they still will draft an edge. So tying this into the draft strategy and bringing this all the way back around, run defense, right? You have this defense that is still young, and you're hoping, again, Rob, the 49ers hope Ricky Pearsall is going to be the wide receiver of the future. The 49ers hope Michael and Collins and West are the future of the defensive line. But hoping and and actually having a grasp on it is two different things. Do you hope? What is it my father used to say? Wish in one hand and and something in the other. I've cursed enough tonight or today on this one. That's why the 49ers, are still like looking into this. Bryce Huff retires.
That's
what a weird offseason, man. So do a startup company, like the guy gets to Silicon Valley 1 year, all of a sudden he's got a tech startup. Like, come on, man, you're taking this too far. Like, you are taking this Cali thing too far. But edge, still a need. Wide receiver, still a need. I still see like there's a combination to go here, round 1 and round 2, that it's going to be those two positions.
Linebacker, still kind of a need because Dre and D Winters are free agents after the year. I know Nick Martin's there, but he had a really serious concussion. Is
he even cleared?
I don't even know what's going on. Like, if he retired, it wouldn't shock me. So that's kind of a sneaky need too.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the Greenlaw thing. I guess, all right, here's how I'll pose this. Dre Greenlaw leaves the San Francisco 49ers after, the injury-filled season. He couldn't get through the season, obviously, after he tears his Achilles. Denver, he signs a 3-year deal. And he's hurt there. And then the season ends, and he finishes the AFC Championship game. He was probably the 1 or 2 best players on the football field in that AFC Championship game, if you remember that game. I know it was snowing, I know it was boring, and you had to watch Jared Stidham and Drake May, and I hate snow games because it ruined the, like you said, like, Rob, I know you're fine with that, but I don't want that in my championship game. I'd rather like see it just get played clean, like let's whatever, right? And then he's cut, and then he says Sean Payton's practices are the hardest things he's ever had to go through. Kyle Shanahan people that are like, oh, they run their practices too hard. He complained about Sean Payton. And then he complained about the defensive playbook. And it was like reading Chinese is what he called it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's cut. and then he signs a 1-year deal only with the 49ers. I'm wondering just a little bit if, yes, this is obviously a bet on myself deal, but how much is in the tank, Rob? How much is left in the tank right there, right? And do both of them know?
Maybe. And maybe he like wanted to go back to where stuff made sense. And by the way, play next to Fred Warner. You know, what was the line that they used when he left, right? He wants to run his own shop.
Yep.
Well, he got to run his own shop last year. Maybe he found out it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I don't really like running my own shop. Let somebody else run the shop, and I could just run around like a psycho and smash people after the whistle.
You know what's pretty funny? All right, guys. You just have to just walk with me. You just have to have a little sense of humor here. Greenlaw and Hufanga traded losing in the NFC Championship game to losing in the AFC Championship game. Maybe they're the problem. All right. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Look, I just think that there's a multitude of ways the 49ers can go. But this offseason just doesn't give you an indication of like, oh, they filled this need with just free agency pickups. And the 49ers don't even have a lot of picks right now. One of those years where they have 300, picks. Or like some of the mocks that you see out there where somebody's taking 25 players in a draft, which is like insanely unheard of and it will never happen. But the 49ers can go a bunch of ways. And if Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr., if Denzel Boston's there at 27, you got to like really, really run that ticket up. But I'm not going to, don't be mad at the 49ers when they take a wide receiver in round 1, despite whatever it is you think that they should be addressing.
Well, we think, everybody thinks they should be addressing offensive line. I think it's fair to point out the 49ers won 5 Super Bowls.
Wait, Rob,
on the offensive line.
Rob, what year is it? Well, I mean, like what do we? Just this year, like everybody every year is like just. But again, I'll let you keep going. Any offensive lineman will do. Do they just do they play the position? Do they have a head? Have they ever wore a helmet? Any of them will do, because I remember Kingsley Suyamaida, you've got it. Doesn't even play.
Yep.
Doesn't even play. You've got to. And those guys don't play. Oh, Will Campbell got his boots smoked. This is not just because you played the position we have to draft you. Now, if you want to talk about investments, that's completely different. But still, keep going, Rob.
Yeah, you still want to invest in a good thing, right? Like all taking an offensive lineman does on day 1 is get a lot of nice things written about you on Friday morning, the day after the draft. That's it. Like, if that's all you want to do, great, because everybody will say, well, if they draft any left tackle, it'll be, well, Trent Williams is 38, contract standoff, good job, 49ers. You get a B+ or an A or whatever. Like, no one's going to ding them for that. But that's all that gets you. You can't just throw it. Again, like we talked about, need can't be your evaluator there. You don't need, I said this yesterday, you don't need a backup plan or replacement for Trent Williams until Trent Williams is not on the team anymore. They didn't have Trent just sitting on the bench while Joe Staley was the left tackle. There was no left tackle backup plan when Joe Staley was here, right? Because most teams don't have that. They have enough trouble finding 5 good offensive linemen as it is, let alone 6. So they'll need to replace Trent when they need to replace Trent. And I know people freak out about that, but I'm sure that's how the 49ers look at it. And especially, look, if they had no other needs, maybe you could say that, but they got a lot of other needs. They can't be drafting backups.
Oh, you ready? This is going to really, really send the chat into a tizzy. You ready? I'm going to say it really. If I whisper it, you might not get as mad at the statement. Picking Mike McGlinchey was a good thing. And it worked out fine for the 49ers. It worked out fine. Grant Cohn sent out a tweet saying the 49ers moved off of Trent Brown and they drafted Mike McGlinchey with the number 9 pick. Trent Brown stinks. And everyone was like, what are you doing? Oh my God, what are you doing? Stinks. Mike McGlinchey was a very, 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 very serviceable right tackle, despite whatever you wanted to cry about. And if you don't believe me, then why did the Denver Broncos give him all that money? And now Mike McGlinchey is a part of the best offensive line in the NFL. You know what the 49ers did right? They drafted him, they kept him on a rookie deal, and they let someone else pay him. And you know what? They're paying Cole McKivitz pennies on the dollar. to be just as good as Mike McGlinchey. And Mike McGlinchey's not the reason the San Francisco 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl. And Mike McGlinchey being drafted over Derwin James is not the reason the San Francisco 49ers haven't won a Super Bowl. Derwin James is not the reason that the 49ers would have beat the Chiefs in 2019. Okay, you want to look at who's the better player? Fine. You think Derwin, I think Derwin James is a phenomenal player. He's a safety. The 49ers did it absolutely right with Mike McGlinchey. Overhated, completely lost in the sauce with everybody who McGlinchey's a bum. Okay. I implore you to watch other teams around the league. He's a part of the best offensive line in the NFL. And he's not just there. They're not carrying Mike McGlinchey. They're not carrying him. They're like, he was fine. That was the right move. The 49ers did the right thing in all facets. For once, when you talk about draft and you talk about the 49ers and you say, hey, what have they done right and they haven't? Nobody ever brings that up. I wonder why, Rob. I wonder why.
People tend to think of draft picks as either a star or a bust. There's no in between. But Mike McGlinchey was a serviceable player for the 49ers for half a decade that probably outperformed his contract while he was with them. That's a good first-round draft pick. Half the first-round draft picks suck. Half of the first-round draft picks suck. If you have, and now McGlinchey's got to be what? He was drafted in 2017. So this is a 10-year NFL career. That's a really good pick in the first round. Most players' careers last 3 years. Like, we don't like to think of first round picks that way because when you take especially a top 10 first round pick, you're expecting like superstar Hall of Famer. Guess what? That's not how it works, man. The bottom for first round picks is bust out of the league. You guy has a 10-year career. That is a good pick.
Second contract. Right. Like the way that you look at, because there was another thing that, we do have to talk about with the 49ers is the last 5 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their first round picks, there's some guy who came up with, this way to value, who's done well in the first rounds, and the 49ers are second to last in the NFL, and they have a 0% star rate with their first round. Zero. Like, I'm not talking about a few. Zero. Like zero. There's only one team that has had another zero, and they were right under them. That was a fine pick. But nobody ever wants to bring that up with McGlinchey. And nobody ever wants to bring that up when they talk about Lynch and they talk about the way that they drafted. That was a absolutely fine pick. And again, nope, it's the last 5 years. It doesn't count with Bosa. It's the last 5 years. So we're talking about Trey Lance, Kinlaw, Ayuk, all those guys. The last 5 years. 0% star rate. I want to reiterate. Not just one, 0%. 0%.
Give those out to anybody, all right, Jay?
No! You have to try to get a 0%. And you know what's funny? Is Brandon Ayuk got a second contract, and he's a part of that. But he's still considered a 0%, and as 0%. It's just when it's selective memory, it's selective outrage, it's selective, I think the problem is and I don't want to come off like people don't know ball because I hate when people do that. Like, I think when you watch offensive linemen, I think there is nuance to it. It's not black and white. There are things that you need to consider, but don't let people gaslight you into with a PFF grade, right? About oh, this guy was amazing and, whatever. Don't let them gaslight you. If you're seeing what you're seeing, that's fine. Like, Mike McGlinchey isn't the best right tackle in the NFL, certain times. But if you don't believe in a guy, I get it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't let them gaslight you into thinking that, you don't know ball. I hate that. But there is nuance to all those things when it comes to offensive line and stuff like that. So the whole offensive line in the first round thing is will any of them do? Because we have so much data of guys that have been guys that you wanted, at offensive tackle, right? Everybody ran from Josh Simmons last year. Everyone. And of course, the Kansas City Chiefs go ahead and swoop on him, and of course he's good. Of course he's great. Of course he's gonna be. I mean, I know that he had some personal issues. It wasn't injury issues this year that why he wasn't playing. But of course Simmons is great. Patella tendon injury, it doesn't matter. Blood magic. But they took him. The 49ers would have took him. He would have never played it down, right, Rob?
No, his leg would have exploded. Damn substation.
One more thing, Rob, and we're at an hour. Appreciate everybody for tuning in with us. It's 3:00 on the East Coast. It's noon on the West Coast. If you're joining us, appreciate you guys. The substation thing's dead, right?
I told everybody that as soon as Super Week ended and nobody had airtime that they needed to fill, that no one would give a crap about the substation. And everyone said, oh, no, players talk. They're not going to be able to sign free agents. They're not going to be able to do anything. And what did we hear? Mike Evans and Christian Kirk both took less to sign with the 49ers. They took less to play near the substation. George Kittle was on with Bussing with the Boys. They said, did Mike Evans ask about the substation? Never even asked about it, he said. Now, maybe you think Kittle's lying, okay, but this is all the information we have to go on. It's not a thing, okay? It is not a thing that players care about. As I predicted, it has disappeared.
I hope you all learned something, is what I'm going to say about this. I hope you all learned something. Hope you all learned something about narratives that just because people are saying things over and over, use your brain. Your brain is stop sleeping on your own brain. Stop sleeping on the fact that you can really find out what you really need to find out if you're diligent enough and you understand what to believe and what not to believe. Because Rob's absolutely right. Mike Evans is at the end of his career. He could have went back to Tampa Bay and got 200 targets and, just added to his Hall of Fame career. Signed with the 49ers for less. Wasn't worried about the substation. George Kittle said he didn't even bring it up when he talked to him. Uh-oh.
Speaking of tweets or takes that you like, Jay, I saw your tweet about Odell Beckham Jr. potentially coming to the 49ers, which is why I was scouting the flag football game. Jordan Schultz says, Odell Beckham has received renewed interest in recent days after his showing at the flag football game. Beckham was one of the most impressive players on the field, fully intends to play in 2026. I would not be shocked at all if Kyle Shanahan went to John Lynch and was like, that Odell Beckham Jr. guy is looking pretty good. We'll just have the best lineup from 2017.
It was tongue-in-cheek when I sent it out, but it wasn't. Because I watched him jump up and catch that one-handed pass, and I was like, oh my God, Unc still has it. And 2018, Jason, is out of his mind through the roof right now. Mike Evans and Odell Beckham in the same offseason? What is going on? Is Julio Jones available? Let's do this. Let's do this. DeAndre Hopkins is available.
Pick him up.
No, look, you know what? Do it. Just so I can show you that Odell Beckham's going to play more than Jordan Watkins. just so I can show you that Jordan Watkins is never going to play football for the 49ers ever, because everybody's just so oh, I know he's good. You don't know he's good. You've never seen him play. You don't know he's good. Do it. I say do it, Rob.
33 years old, Odell Beckham.
Do it.
He'll be 34 in November. He has not had a 1,000-yard season since James Garoppolo was on the 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl.
Do it. Odell, Mike Evans, what's Julio Jones up to? DeAndre, we're getting the band back together of 2018 All-Pros.
Yeah, the only thing it would be good for is when you could say years from now, wide receivers all time for the 49ers, you could have a receiving core of Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, and Odell Beckham Jr.
The other thing is, too, Rob, selfishly, my favorite NFL player hasn't played for the 49ers since Terrell Owens. My favorite 49er is Fred Warner, but he's not my favorite NFL player.
Yeah.
Right? If that makes sense. Mike Evans is one of my favorite NFL players, and he's on the 49ers. Really happy. I'm going to buy his jersey, even if it's just for 1 year. I'm really happy. I wanted them to try to sign Julio Jones. I wanted them to try to go, you're starting to put my favorite players on my favorite team? I have an Odell Beckham Giants jersey, for Christ's sake. And the only reason I bought it was because I worked at Lids, and I got a 50% discount off of everything that was on clearance, and it was already on clearance. It cost me $13. and then the funniest thing that I ever did was the Giants signed Dante Pettis, gave him 13. I just took the name off the back of Beckham and just put Pettis on there, and I was like, I got my Pettis jersey. There you go. But I would love this. I would love this, and I wouldn't be shocked either. Like, it was tongue in cheek when I sent it, but it was, every joke has a little bit of truth to it, and I do believe that.
I could see Odell being like, man, this Kyle Shanahan guy's pretty smart. If anybody could get me open, maybe it could be him. And I think Kyle would be like, Odell can still do a couple things. Maybe it's worth a flyer. It wouldn't shock me.
I love it. I'm so... But the problem is the fighting over number 13. Because you got Evans who wants 13. Brock's already got 13. Beckham was 13. Odell moved to number 3. Mike Evans might end up with 3. The fighting over the numbers would be insane to me.
And by the way, no unretiring numbers, okay? Like, I know sometimes, like, people ask permission. Oh, can I wear this? Remember when Trent Dilfer was on the Niners? They asked permission
to
retire John Brody's number.
Mm-hmm.
No. The numbers are retired. They asked Matt Leinart, oh, can we give your number 11 to this recruit? And he was like, no, it's retired. No. I love that, dude. You retire the number is retired, period. So tough, Mike Evans, tough Odell Beckham Jr. I know somebody potentially wanted Ronnie Lott's number. I saw a thing, and no, go away.
Also, we might have to just stop retiring numbers.
Yeah, Jed York said they're not going to retire anymore because they're running out.
Yeah, well, when Malik Turner's wearing 81, I want to get sick to my stomach.
Right.
And that's no disrespect to Anquan Bolden, but Terrell Owens is the second greatest receiver in the history of football. I mean, full stop. I don't even want to argue about anybody else. Full stop. And you have to give it to somebody. So, yeah, you can't. It's football. You just can't keep, And also, for God's sake, if you're a wide receiver, pick good numbers. Number 14 for a wide receiver is gross. That's disgusting. Single digit or in the 80s. And pick the right one in the 80s, because 89's gross to look at. 82 I don't think is good looking. 83 is not good looking. Like 80, 81, 84, 88, those feel like the sweet spot in the 80s.
Yeah, I feel like 80, maybe it's just because of Kittle and Vernon Davis, but I feel like 85 is the tight end number.
It is, for us at least, I agree. Yeah, and I don't like it as a receiver number. That's a gross number. And you know what? Even sometimes 84 feels like a tight end number.
Let me ask you this last question before we wrap up. You mentioned you want to get a Mike Evans 49ers jersey, even if it's just for 1 year.
Yep.
Is that the hardest 1 year jersey ever? Mike Evans on the Niners. I'm thinking Dion on the Niners.
I have a Dion jersey. I have a Dion in the jersey. Dion jersey.
Is there another like 1 year jersey that goes harder than the Dion Niners in '94?
No, I have that jersey. I remember I wore it, I believe it was Caps last year, right? I wore it to go watch football because, at that time I wasn't a content creator or anything like that. Like, I would be outside on Sunday watching football with the other drunk folks. And I remember I busted out and I pick up my brother and he's like, damn, nice Frank Gore jersey. And I was like, listen to me. Don't you disrespect me ever again. And that's not a disrespect to Frank Gore, because I think Frank Gore's a Hall of Famer. Shout out to Frank the Tank. It's like, this is a Dion jersey, pal. So Dion and Frank Gore were 21, but I have a Dion jersey. And I'll have a Mike Evans if it's a 1 year, a Devondre Campbell. Do you want to know what all right, I have two really funny San Francisco 49ers jerseys. Two of them. They're really funny. One, I have a Jimmy Garoppolo. But I have a Jimmy Garoppolo from when we thought he was our dashing franchise Disney prince, right? Okay. The funniest jersey that I own is, and this was the peak pandemic when Fanatics was like, we were all sitting on money because we couldn't go outside, and we all, we weren't spending any money. We were just spending it on rent, and we were wiping down our groceries and all that crazy stuff. And Fanatics say, hey, you can start paying, in 4. I have a Jerick McKinnon stitched San Francisco 49ers
wow. Jersey. Jeez.
28. And for you guys who like, we're obviously we're doing this on the Gold Standard channel. Anybody who's followed my channel knows that the longest running joke on my channel, especially, with the show that I do with Andrew, is McKinnon from the Wildcat. The play in Seattle, 2020, one of Kyle Shanahan's worst play calls in the history of the world. Jerick McKinnon's back there. He goes, he fakes zone read, and it gets blown up. And we're all looking at each other like, what the hell was that? So that's where that started. And then to kind of finish the joke off, I covered the Super Bowl that year in Arizona, and I got a chance to talk with Jet. Remember, he was on the Chiefs. And you can go look on the channel if you want. I asked him about that play. He remembered it verbatim. He remembered that play. He remembered it right off the bat. Right off the bat. He goes, I think I got stuffed for like a 3-yard loss in that play. I was like, yep. I was like, keep going. And he just said, hey, listen, I was supposed to read it. I read it wrong and everything. I have a Jerick McKinnon jersey just because of that joke and that play. And I was able to pull it full circle by talking with him at that Super Bowl.
That's funny. That is awesome. Yeah. Brisbee Life on Twitch says the classic Stimmy check jersey. That's funny.
100%. I was sitting, listen, I had the highest paying job I ever had in my life as a Liz district manager at that time. That job went away, but the government was paying me the same amount of money to sit in the house. And you couldn't go out to eat. You couldn't do, I was sitting on money. Bored. Remember when they announced the 94 throwbacks that year with the patch? I had enough money sitting around. I bought a Fred Warner jersey right off the bat. That's how I just was looking for something to, spend money on. But I will say this: my proudest jerseys that I own, I have a Kittle, whatever, but I have a 52, a 53, and a 54.
Woo!
So I'm good. And the 52 and 53 are gonna get put in a case to go up, like when I finish, remodeling my apartment and everything. And the 54 is one of the few jerseys that I wear now.
By the way, Chris Lopez says, hey, I have one more game to enter into your brackets. It's the 49ers versus Atlanta. Navarro Bowman interception. I think that's a worthy one. Here's the problem with that, Chris.
It's not a Kyle Shanahan one, right?
That's right. That's a Jim Harbaugh game. We're only looking at the best games of the Shanahan era in the bracket. Tomorrow we'll advance to round 2. So you still have time to vote. I'll put a link in the description if you want to go vote. Everybody will be entered into a chance to win a free piece of merch from the store if you vote. I don't know who's going to win this thing. There are a lot of good contenders, but pick your favorite Kyle Shanahan game, Jay.
All right. I'm glad that we talked about this. And, I was a little shocked because I forgot about the March Madness bracket, but I do kind of understand your reasoning. Because if you keep running the content creator thing, it's just gonna be Croc and Brad, and like me, I'll get to like the 3rd round, but as soon as I run up against Brad or Croc or Lombardi, I'm cooked, right? It's done. It's a nice run and everything, but I'm kind of glad that you changed this. By the way, Niner Faithful 8080 says, "What's your favorite Funko Pop, Jason?" You're not gonna like this. I have a George Kittle one up there, but it's that Derek Jeter one right there because there's only a few of those that are in circulation. Shout out to the New York Yankees. We have a game tomorrow against the San Francisco Giants. But I want to talk about this. And I love this because I did vote on this. And I'm sure that you saw that I voted on it.
Yeah.
All right. Saints 2019, Jimmy G versus the Bears. Now, this one's tough because I was at that game. The Bears game. And I remember that game. Trey Lance is warming up.
Yes.
They're getting ready to pull Jimmy Garoppolo from this game. Kyle Shanahan's yelling at Jimmy saying, this is simple shit. Can you figure this out? Deebo Samuel is in the midst of the third greatest 49ers wide receiver season of all time. Because, it's Jerry, it's Terrell Owens, and then it's Deebo. Okay. I still pick the Saints game over this one. Deebo Samuel, I always joke around, where were you when Deebo Samuel saved the San Francisco 49ers season in 2021?
Absolutely did. No question.
And you know what's hilarious? That play is like a 3rd and 19 play.
Yep.
Right? And I just so happened to be recording. I had that whole play recorded on my phone. Don't ask me why. I don't record at games like that. Don't ask me why. That play was there. That is one of the most electric things I've ever seen in real life. It's still the Saints 2019 game. You want to know why, Rob?
Why?
It just felt like that 2019 game, you needed to win that game to kind of prove to me that you guys weren't just lucky this year. right? You start 8-0, you lose your first game to Seattle, and you kind of feel like, shit, Seattle still got our number. This isn't our year with that. And the Saints, they were the ones in the way of the 49ers getting home field advantage.
Mm-hmm.
Can you show me that you can get into a shootout with Drew Brees and those guys and walk out with a win? And they did. So I will give this one to the Saints game. But I love that Bears game. That is one of my fondest football memories. Thank you, Deebo Samuel. They'll never make me hate you, ever.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to put that one in there, that Bears, because it was a sneaky good one. They were 2-5 at the time, too, before they played that game. They actually lost the next week against the Cardinals, too. So, really needed that one.
Yep. So, give me the Saints in that one. What's the next one? Packers, 19.
The NFC Championship game in 2019, the Mostert, or the wild card game against the Eagles this year.
It's really, really a testament to recency bias, or can you remember that season? Again, in 19, right? I feel like when the Saints got bounced, or when Seattle got bounced, because remember, the 49ers had the bye. When Seattle got bounced, I was like, 49ers are going to Super Bowl. There's nobody that's left that's going to be able to stop them. That Packers game, and this is, again, I'm reminiscing because this is when I worked, at Lids, district manager, again, making the most money I had. I called my boss at halftime, and I said, I need the next week off. And he's like, why? I was like, I'm going to Miami. San Francisco 49ers are going to the Super Bowl. I was like, I'm going to Miami. We're going to party the entire week. And I knew that game was over. So that game kind of felt a little over before it started. I never really was worried about the Packers in that game. But this Eagles game, Rob, you know that I'm not a Jalen Hurts enthusiast. In fact, I refer to him as a door dasher. It was really cool to watch him throw pick sixes even in flag football because that's how little I think of him as a quarterback. I think he's that bad. I really don't think he's a good passing quarterback. But the Eagles do a lot of this. And I think that the reason I'm going to pick the Eagles game is this. So many 49ers fans were like, oh, they got no shot against the Eagles. They can't stop the run. They're going to run the football all over them. Nope. You just didn't watch the Eagles this year. Jalen Hurts stinks. Their offense was trash. And I never once doubted that the 49ers were going to win this game. It was very satisfying to win that game to shut not only the Eagles fans up, but the 49ers fans who quit on the 49ers in this one. So I'm going to pick the Eagles. What do you think?
I can see why you did that. But to me, it's the 2019 game just because I remember, I was just sitting there thinking, is this real life? They're rolling over. This is the NFC Championship game, and they're blowing them off the field, and they've only thrown 8 passes. It felt like this can't be this important of a game because it was so easy. It was so stress-free.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people took it as an indictment against Jimmy Garoppolo. I just felt like if you can just run the football, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Yeah. If it was flipped and it was Aaron Rodgers, you probably still would have did the same thing. That's how bad they were against the run, and that's how good Mostert was. I feel you on that. I love that game too. Just never was stressful. I was never stressed about that game at all.
No, especially for an NFC Championship game. All right, let's bang through these here. We got Eagles 23 in Philly or the Cowboys divisional game in 2022.
Eagles, because I never once think the Cowboys are ever going to beat us in the playoffs ever because they're you got me all the way messed up if you think that I'm worried about a Dallas Cowboys team coming in here and beating the San Francisco 49ers. I will take the 49ers to the gallows if that ever happens. This one is the get back for what happened the year before. Yes, give me the Eagles game. And Deebo Samuel shows up in black Air Forces. Come on. And he goes out there and he just dominates them. Come on, man. Yes, man, absolutely. And it just shut all of those idiots up.
Yep, I agree. Next matchup, Packers game in the snow in the playoffs in 2021 or Brock's first start against Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Packers, man. I mean, you win a football game where you don't score an offensive touchdown and you move on. That's the game where I started to look around and say, something's happening with this team. Something's going on. And it's all the little stuff that kind of piled up in that game. What a lot of people forget because they remember the next game and they're mad at Jaquiski Tartt is. Jaquiski Tartt is probably the reason that they're in that game. Let me explain. What happened at the end of the half, Rob? Does anybody remember what happened at the end of the first half in that game?
The throw to Aaron Jones where he runs like 90 yards and almost scores a touchdown.
And he gets chased down by Jaquiski Tart, and Jimmy Ward blocks the field goal. No points, save touchdown, probably sends the 49ers home. Thank you, Jordan Willis. Thank you, Talanoa Hufanga. Bing, bam, boom, bam, bam. And if you don't think that special teams matters, that's the reason the Green Bay Packers weren't playing the next week. So give me the Packers game. That one felt like, I just was like, oh, something's happening with this team. Something is going on. And we found out that nothing was going on, but
much worse offensively and still won. All right, the NFC Championship game comeback against the Lions or Jimmy G's first start in 2017?
I don't know why you put these two together. Jimmy G's first start was cool, but it's got to be the Lions game, man. I mean, you felt like that one was like, oh God, this beautiful season is it's coming apart. It happened early too. The Lions are just punching the 49ers in the face.
Yep.
And they score, and you're just like, oh my God. I watched that game in complete silence. When that game was over, doing an instant reaction, I was almost like reduced to tears how happy I was because it was just so like exhilarating and like, yeah, it's got to be that one.
My wife took a picture of me in the first half of that game, me and my son, and we both just have our head in our hands, like just completely defeated. Yeah. And then obviously we know what happened. All right. Rams, the 17-point comeback in the final week of 2021, or Mac Jones and the Funky Bunch against the Rams this year?
This one is Rams 2021. We talk a lot of shit. Sorry. Damn, I've been cursing too much. I apologize, Rob. We talk a lot of junk about Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, baby. The guy with a broken thumb. Do you remember the lead up to that week, Rob? Remember the lead up to that week?
He going to play?
Trey Lance wins the week before against Houston. Kyle does the whole, like, I don't know. I mean, I know who's starting, but I'm not going to tell you. Like, whatever. Like, he was being a complete curmudgeon the entire week about it. Jimmy's thumb is broken. The Rams start blowing the doors off these guys, and then Deebo Samuel. Oh, Deebo Samuel again. Oh, more Deebo Samuel. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo game-tying drive at the end. Like, I can still see him throwing that pass to Deebo with Jalen Ramsey like diving, and it's just fingertips by him, and Deebo's just running through everybody. It's got to be this one. Shout out to James Garoppolo. That's the moment where that is absolutely where I was just like, you know what, man? You've done a lot of things that have pissed me off. This is not one of them, and we love you, man.
Remember, they had one drive, I think it was right after halftime, where they had all runs and they only threw one pass, and the pass they threw was a running back pass to Juwan Jennings.
Yep. 2021 is such a special season to me because of Deebo Samuel. There's so many of those moments. It's hard to beat that season when you put it up against certain things. So
the first big game of the Kyle Shanahan era, the number one seed game in the final week of 2019 up in Seattle, or Brock against the Panthers in the playoffs against the Packers, in the playoffs in 2023.
Yeah, this is the Dre Greenlaw stop for me. Again, in 2019, you had a certain, like I mentioned it earlier, but you had two markers that you had to hit to have me convinced. You had to be able to beat the New Orleans Saints in a blowout, in a shootout, and you had to be able to go into Seattle and finish the job here because they're the boogeyman. So yeah, it's this one. I remember exactly where I was for that game as well too. I remember it was over, and I just remember like exhaling, and just like that's it. I remember just getting in the car like when we were going home from watching it, and I was speechless. It's definitely that one, the Dre Greenlaw stop.
And then finally in the first round, the game in 2023 against the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. I was at that game. So was Steph, by the way, because we met up at that game, where they blew the doors off the Cowboys and told everybody we're the best team. We're going to the Super Bowl. Or the Cowboys wild card game in 2021 where Dallas runs out of time at the end of the game.
Gotta love those Cowboys. So the funny thing is, one of these matters more, right? Because it's a playoff win. But again, Rob, I never once believe if the Dallas Cowboys are lacing it up against the San Francisco 49ers, I never believe they're going to beat us. The Dallas Cowboys. But I do think it's a Sunday Night Football game, the one that you went to.
Me too.
I had so much fun trolling because I live in Jersey. But there's a lot of Cowboys fans here. There's a lot of Cowboys fans everywhere. Somebody lied and told you they were America's team, and a bunch of people, again, I didn't vote on that. I don't see how you can get to that and say, that they're America's team. If anything, I think the Patriots are more America's team, but that's a question for another day. But that Sunday Night Football game, I had so much fun trolling, bro. We blew them out. That game was never once close. I had the time of my life. And, Rob, it spawned one of our best podcast moments because I came up with the Cowboys have more player podcasts than they do wins against the San Francisco 49ers. And it made us laugh at Micah Parsons because Micah Parsons, we got something for that the next time. No, you don't. You never do. You never will. And just shut your yap. It's always that one.
And people have to remember too. The Niners beat them in 21. They beat them in 22. And then going into that game in 23, it was, okay, the Niners showed us that we have to step it up and we have to step up our physicality. And we're going to be the bully. And Jerry Jones was going into that game saying, this is a measuring stick game. And we're going to go in and we're not going to be pushed around by the 49ers anymore. And then the game started and the 49ers kicked the hell out of the Cowboys on offense, on defense. It was a bloodbath. The Niners could have scored 60 if they wanted to. It wasn't even close. And the Niners just said, you are not in our league. There's levels to this, and you're not where we are.
I love that 2023 season. I know, guys. I know. But that 2023 season, there's so many moments. I mean, we'd have to trade one of them for the big one.
Of course.
And I'm fine with that. But, it is what it is. That's the peak of my content creation time. Even though last year was very fun, by the way. Also, I don't care what anybody says. I had a blast covering this team last year. But every time, the 49ers lost 4 games that season. They lost 3 in a row. And then they lost the last one. But they never looked like they were ever going to lose games, ever. And they would have won the Cleveland game if not for the stupid kicker. They would have won the Vikings game if not for the fact that they called that awful, horrendous cover 0 blitz at the end of the second half that ended up as a touchdown. They could have won every single game, Rob. Like, what type of domination is that?
You're forgetting the Christmas game against the Ravens.
That's the only one. All right, forget it. Yeah, they couldn't have won that game. Sorry. I will take that all the way back. They couldn't have won that game. Whew. Thank God that the Ravens are no good in the playoffs, so they didn't have to see them again in the Super Bowl. Yep, and Gabriel rightfully correcting myself. Rob, this was fun. I enjoy doing the 8 o'clock shows because I feel like people get a chance to tune in a little bit more. People are at work and all that stuff, but this was fun, man. Just don't make it a habit. There. Now I'm the boss.
Agreed. It's not going to be a habit. We like doing a little later in the day, but had a little scheduling conflict today, so we switched it up. Thank you, everybody. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, go vote in the bracket challenge again. We'll go to round 2 tomorrow, so you can vote again. And like I said, if you vote, you'll get entered into a chance to win free merch from the merch store. Anything you want. Who doesn't like free stuff?
Absolutely. And thank you guys for joining. That'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. By the way, for anybody that is asking, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Rob, it'll be our regularly scheduled program next Tuesday?
Yes.
Or is it one more?
Steph will be back next week.
Yeah. So for all you guys that have been asking, everything's fine. Just everybody needs some time here and there. I needed some time, while I was going through my stuff and everything as well, too. Shout out to Steph. She's doing great, but we're going to be back with everything, so you don't have to worry about that. But that'll do it for this episode of the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell for when we go live. Make sure that you subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcast. Make sure you follow Rob on Twitter at StatsOnFire. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. Rob, this was a blast. Not to troll, and I know you're not, but let's go Yankees and let's go Niners.
Peace.